UFC 317, Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. I am going to do a full card breakdown, breaking down each and every fight, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, describing who I think will win, how I think they'll win, and why I think they'll win. Starting with Niko Price versus Jacoby Smith. Really safe matchmaking by the team of Jacoby Smith. They really know how to pick someone they think their guy is going to beat. Unfortunately, I do have to go with Jacoby Smith, not because I think he's elite or anything. We really don't know much about him, but what we do know is Niko Price is definitely on the downside of his career. He's 35. He's 1-4 in his last five fights. He's been finished in 2 out of his 3 most recent losses. I do think someone more in their prime and skilled can expose someone like Jacoby Smith. I just don't think that Niko Price can do that at this point in his career. As much as I'd love to see Jacoby Smith get slept for that racist shit he was talking on the Perry Punch podcast. Just talking shit about Sam Patterson because he fucked up Danny Barlow. Fuck Jacoby Smith. Unfortunately, I do think he wins this fight because Niko Price is just shot. Moving on. Jonathan Deniz versus Alvin Hines. It's heavyweight, dude. Alvin Hines stepping in for Justin Tafa on short notice. He's been beating a couple decent guys on the regional scene by heavyweight standards. He does have some submissions on his record, and he can grapple. And Deniz did show a huge grappling hole in his game in his last fight against Marcin Tybura. But no, Marcin Tybura is pretty good by heavyweight standards, definitely. He really only seems to lose to like top guys or ranked UFC heavyweights. So am I really going to trust Alvin Hines stepping up on short notice to do what Tybura did to Jonathan Deniz on short notice? I'm not. He is 7-0, but he hasn't really proven how good he is. Regional heavyweights might as well be fat part-time plumbers and gas station attendants doing this as like a part-time job. I'm going to go with Deniz just on the sole basis of knowing more about him and the added benefit of him having a full camp. I do think he's going to win by round 2 or 3 TKO, catching Alvin Hines, who's just stepping up, on short notice, first UFC fight, probably going to have those jitters. I do think Jonathan Deniz gets it done. Next fight, Cedricus Dumas versus Jackson McVeigh. Jackson McVeigh looking like Post Malone's autistic distant cousin that they don't invite to family functions. So here we go. Cedricus Dumas is not good. He's not good. He got starched by Mikhail Alexijuk. He also got starched by Nursultan Rusaboev. Looking back at some of his wins, I mean, Dennis Tululin, 10-10. He beat Cody Brundage by decision. Just, dude, don't take Cody Brundage to a decision. If you're going to be anything at all in this middleweight division, don't take him 3 rounds. But Jackson McVeigh, 6-0, coming over from LFA, has beat one, and I do say one, positive record opponent. Everyone else he's beaten had like 50-50 records or losing records. They're all finishes. But when 5 of your 6 wins come against garbage men and porn theater cleanup crew workers, I really can't rate you. I guess I'm just going to go with Dumas by decision for no other reason than experience and better quality of opposition. But that's really it. I don't think Cedricus Dumas is good at all. But I just don't. I do think he's fought better people. Next fight. Terrence McKinney versus Viacheslav Borshev. Slava Claus is back. This is going to be a banger. I'm actually really excited for this fight. McKinney and Slava Claus know how to throw down. Both these guys love to just stand and bang. Both fast starters. If I had to pick one fight that I was 100% confident was not going to go the distance, it would be this one. McKinney is dangerous in the first round, but a lot of times throughout his career, he's been known as a kind of like a one-round fighter. Very dangerous. But once it gets past like that first 3.5 minute mark, he gets his shit pushed in. He got melted by Bonfim, one of the Bonfim brothers. And of course, everyone remembers that famous, iconic colonizing he received from Drew Drober. Started off that Drober, that Dober style beating, son. You're going to get the Dober treatment, boy. Borshev is a really good boxer, but his grappling, jeez. Yeah, it's not good. He lost to Tom Nolan and Tyson Nam, but I don't think he's in the best state in his career. He lost 2 out of his last 3. I think McKinney has the advantage here, and I think he'll likely win by round 2 TKO. There's going to be a few moments of danger, maybe from Slava Claus. I think maybe he can catch McKinney and like hurt him at some point, but I do think McKinney's going to power through, get the finish. Moving on, Vivian Araujo versus Tracy Cortez. Araujo coming off that win against Karine Silva. Before that, she lost to Natalia Silva, but there's no shame there. I think Natalia Silva is actually going to be the next champion at flyweight. I think she actually beat Shevchenko. But I am going to be picking Tracy Cortez to win. I think it'll be a close fight, but I do have to give the edge to Tracy Cortez. She looked really good against Rose Namajunas. She did lose 4 rounds of that fight, but I do think she won the 5th. And there was some, times in that fight she was able to get Rose to the ground and kind of have some success there. And she's a lot younger than Vivian Araujo. Araujo is 38. Jesus, she's 38. She is 38 years old. I mean, go. What the fuck are you doing? Go have kids or something. Shit. Anyways, I do think Cortez has more to improve on. I think she can kind of mix it up. I think she can kind of mix in the striking and kind of like out-volume her, land the takedowns when necessary. But I do think it'll be a close fight. And I think Tracy Cortez is going to win 29-28 decision. Next fight on the card, Haider Emil versus Jose Delgado. Both these guys young prospects. Haider is taller, and he does have a reach advantage. Delgado can wrestle, and he is the more active wrestler of the two. Haider Emil just recently had kind of a close chess match with William Gomez. It was a split decision, but I do think that Emil did win the 2nd and 3rd round. A lot of people think Gomez did win the 1st and 2nd, but I had it for Haider Emil. Jose Delgado did come like fresh off the Contender Series, knocked out Connor Matthews, and he is a favorite. But I am going to be picking Haider Emil by decision. I think he's got more experience, and I do think, you want to talk about that William Gomez fight. I think William Gomez would be a tough out for a lot of guys at featherweight. And he was on a 4-fight win streak when he fought Emil. So, and he beat like Joe Anderson Brito. He's beaten Francis Marshall and some other guys. I just see more in the game of Haider Emil than I do with Jose Delgado at this point. Delgado is dangerous, but I do think Emil can weather that early storm, kind of take back those like 2nd and 3rd rounds and win by decision. Next fight on the card, Jack Hermanson, Jack the Joker Hermanson versus Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. See, I've been kind of going back and forth on this one. I am going to go with Gregory Rodriguez, but it's worrying. The only reason I'm really picking Rodriguez is just because of activity and being younger. He is a big, explosive guy. Both guys have a common opponent in Jared Cannonier, but I'm not really looking too deep into that. The thing is with Jack Hermanson is he's 37. He hasn't fought in over a year. And before that, he hadn't fought since fighting Roman Dolidze, which was also a year before that. It's like he showed up after a year, fraud checked and killed the Joe Pyfer hype just to fuck off again. Like, I don't know. I don't see the commitment from Hermanson at this point in his career. He's older. He's less active. And he kind of knows at this point he's not going to be a champion. But he is a crafty vet. He's a crafty vet. I just don't see him getting it done. He could, But I think I'm going to trust in the activity of Gregory Rodriguez. You know, he did lose to Jared Cannonier, but it's a relatively quick comeback. And he did reasonably okay against Jared Cannonier. He knocked him on his ass. He had a dogfight with him. And I just think he has more motivation in this in at this point in his career than Jack Hermanson does. And I am going to pick him by round 3 TKO or by decision. Either or. I'm leaning more towards a TKO because Hermanson's coming back after a long layoff and might kind of just be like not within the rhythm of things, but that's my pick for that fight. Next fight, Peyton Talbot versus Felipe Lima. So this fight was just booked out of nowhere on 2 weeks' notice, and it makes no fucking sense at all. Both of these guys, young prospects. Talbot got kind of exposed by Raoni Barcelos, but Barcelos just beat Garbrandt. I mean, we couldn't find 2 old fuckers to feed these guys to, or to feed them to these guys. No one has to kill the other, like, and derail the trajectory of, like, one of their careers. Like, who do we have for upcoming prospects at bantamweight right now? Like, I'll wait. Go on, tell me. I'll wait. Fucking nobody. Terrible matchmaking. And honestly, these guys need to go back to, like, these matchmakers, they need to go back to working at your local McDonald's. This shit is stupid, but I digress. I'm going to go with Felipe Lima. Peyton Talbot does have a height and reach advantage. Lima's only about 5'6". I just respect the wins over that Felipe Lima has over the wins of Peyton Talbot. And what I mean by that is he did beat Miles Johns, who's a very capable fighter, and he did submit Muhammad Naimov in the 3rd round. I think both those guys are very good caliber opponents. Peyton Talbot, he did beat Cameron Simon, who has not really looked good since, you know. And he did beat that one Greek guy. I forget his name. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. But those are the kind of wins that Peyton Talbot has. And I just think that Felipe Lima has more tools in his arsenal. He's a very capable striker, dangerous ground game. And I think he's going to get some advantageous grappling position. And if he doesn't get a submission, I could see him just riding out Talbot for the 3 rounds of the fight. Sort of like Barcelos did in a way, but just a more active, up-and-coming Barcelos. And I got Lima winning this one. Next fight. Beneil Dariush versus Renato Money Moicano. Jeez, okay. So this is a bit of a closer fight than most people think. Both guys are 36. They've taken their fair share of licks and bumps. And this fight was actually supposed to happen at UFC 311. But Arman Tsarukyan pulled out with a back injury. Moicano steps up on a day's notice, gets ran through by Islam Makhachev. Actually had a good moment in that fight where he sort of dropped Islam early. But Islam recovered, took him down, implemented the grappling, and then submitted him. But there's no shame in losing to Islam Makhachev, especially on a day's notice. Biggest fight of your life, has the balls to take it on a day's notice. That takes guts, and I seriously respect that. And I am going to go with Renato Moicano. For nothing else other than activity alone, he's fought 5 times since Dariush last won his last fight, and Dariush is coming up back-to-back knockout losses. I don't think Moicano can necessarily KO him on the feet the same way Oliveira or Tsarukyan did, because he just doesn't seem to crack like that. He does have power, but he doesn't have like fight any power with his hands alone. Dariush did beat Mateus Gamrot, but before that, like, let's look through Dariush's resume. I mean, Tony Ferguson. I mean, we see kind of where Tony Ferguson's ended up now. Diego Ferreira, split decision. Scott Holtzman lost to Clay Guida. I mean, we haven't really seen Dariush in over a year, and going to go with Moicano getting a TKO on the ground. He might wobble Dariush on the feet, gets the back, flattens him out, and gets him out of there. Kind of like in a similar way that he did Jalen Turner. Moicano's a grinder, man. I cannot afford to lose. UFC don't pay me enough, motherfuckers. No, I'm playing. I love Moicano. I love his podcast. All love the Moicano. I think he wins by finish. Round 2 TKO via ground and pound. Moving on. Joshua Van versus Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval is a crafty veteran. He's won his last 2 fights versus Brandon Moreno and Tatsuro Taira, both by split decision. I thought he won them both. He did show that kind of veteran instinct against Taira, shut him down later in that fight. Long, rangy, grappling, great grappling. He actually submitted Kai Kara France, who's fighting for the belt on this very card. He can rip heavy calf kicks, and I do think this is going to be a dogfight. Both guys are going to kind of stand and bang, trade a little bit. Brandon Royval did have to pull out of his fight with Kopp. This was actually supposed to be a rebooking, him versus Manel Kopp, but Manel Kopp actually had to pull out this time. Funny enough. Oh my God. Funny. Manel Kopp just like drags people's names through the mud for pulling out, but he had to pull out this time. Maybe this will give him some new perspective that, people got to pull out sometimes. And he's been up for, and I do get where Manel Kopp is coming from with all of his anger at people pulling out, because it's frustrating, but it's just the game, unfortunately. Joshua Van, he just beat the shit out of Bruno Silva, stopped all the takedowns, showing some improvement in his game. He's making a very quick turnaround to fill in for Manel Kopp. But that kind of shows that he's got the confidence. He's in shape, just got out of fight camp. Royval hasn't fought since October of last year, which isn't a big time lapse, but Van is more active. I do think Van wins by decision, stuffing the takedowns, checking the leg kicks, ripping Royval to the body with those body shots, and really just piecing him up on the feet. I worry because Royval is game, and he could pull off one of those Unk still got it moments. Look, I know Van just got knocked out, not just knocked out, but recently, within the past year or so, got knocked out by Charles Johnson. It was a while ago. I do think Royval isn't as powerful of a puncher as Johnson is, nor is he kind of like this uppercut type of guy. And I think since then, Van's really come into his own. He's really improved. He's really slick, very fluid. Now, if this were 5 rounds, I think Royval would have more of an advantage. And I would actually lean towards Royval to win. But 3 rounds, I just think Van can kind of be that marauder, impose his will, and really stick on him in all 3. He's on a 4-fight win streak in a year. And whoever wins this is going to be looking at the winner of the co-main event, which I'm about to get to. But my pick for this fight is Joshua Van by decision, 29-28. Alejandro Pantoja versus Kai Kara France, co-main event for the flyweight title. Now, here comes an unpopular opinion in a little bit, but I'm high on Alejandro Pantoja, and I have been for a lot of his career. I think a lot of his career has been overlooked, slept on, and not really properly rated. I think he's very underrated. The dude has a legendary career. Even prior to winning the belt, I mean, look at his resume. Brandon Moreno, not 1, not 2, but 3 times he's beat Brandon Moreno. He's beat Brandon Royval twice. He even beat Kai Kara France in an amateur bout on The Ultimate Fighter, season 24, back in the day, 2016. If you know, you know. And I know this might as well be ancient history, that fight. But the fact remains, I still think Pantoja is better than Kai Kara France. And I think, if anything, the gap has only widened since then. Because I really don't think Kai Kara France is that good. I'm sorry to say, but let's look at his most recent performances, shall we? I mean, he knocked out Steve Erceg, who gave Pantoja a tough fight. Some believe he beat Pantoja, but, we can't really do MMA math here. as far as we know, Usyk could just be like another Dominic Reyes. You know, he wins that fight. He goes on a bit of a slide, but he might not bounce back the same way Dominic Reyes did. Like, we really don't know how good Usyk is because he hasn't really proven it against like a lot of elite performers. I mean, he got his title shot by beating Matt Schnell, whose chin, like a stiff breeze, could KO Matt Schnell. Like, let's be real. Kara France went to a decision with Amir Albazi. Arguably could have won, but he lost. But Albazi got him down, man. And he had his back in a few moments, which is not a good look if you're fighting Pantoja. Before that, he lost to Brandon Moreno, which isn't bad, but like, you know, he had a bit of success. He dropped Moreno in that fight. But otherwise, it was really just kind of like one-way traffic. He got finished in the third round, but before then, he won like, he did beat Askarov by split decision. Could have gone either way. Either way, a lot of people gave that fight to Askarov. I gave it to Kara France on damage alone. But again, you could make an argument for Askarov, and he did get taken down in that fight and controlled in certain moments. Before that, he knocked out Cody Garbrandt, cutting down to flyweight, chinless, brainless Cody Garbrandt. Like, how much do we really rate that? He's chinny at 135. He was even chinnier going down to 125. But before he beat Garbrandt, I mean, Rodrigo Bontorin, I'm just not seeing anywhere Kara France is elite in skill or resume. And he hasn't really like beaten anyone or done anything to make you go, oh shit, he's going to beat Pantoja. No. I don't think there's anywhere he can offer like serious resistance wherever the fight goes. He's not the best at takedown defense. He's not the best like pure striker. His boxing is his strong suit, and that's kind of where he gives guys problems with his like technical boxing. But outside of that, he's not really elite anywhere that I'm seeing. I just, you know, and even like you want to say that Pantoja is a few years older. Kara France is 32. Pantoja is 35. I mean, I don't think that's that big of an age difference. And I don't think it compensates for the size difference because you got to understand, Kara France is a very small flyweight. If there was like an atomweight division in the UFC, I think Kara France would be a shoo-in for that because he's very small, even for flyweight. I just think Pantoja is too big, too well-rounded, and ultimately an elite fighter. And it's the same reason I'm not going to pick Yair Rodriguez when he faces Alexander Volkanovski in a rematch. He's just not championship level. He just isn't. I don't see a champion when I look at Yair Rodriguez or Kara France. And I just think Pantoja has that grit, and that's what separates the two. So I do think Alejandro Pantoja is going to win. I'm going to pick him by round 2 or 3 submission. I think he gets him out of there. Yeah, I think Alejandro Pantoja submits Kara France in round 2 or 3. Main event for the lightweight title, the vacant lightweight title. Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira is going to lose, and I think he's going to lose by round 2 TKO. Now, Oliveira could win. He can use that kind of like lanklet frame he has at 155 to flick and jab and, you know, go for a body triangle, keep kicking and like do like teep kicks, body kicks from a distance and be more patient. Kind of like he was in the Michael Chandler fight, but Ilia is not a retard. He's not a spaz who's just going to fucking stand there, give away rounds or do something reckless and stupid. He's calculated and doesn't just rush in like a sped. And Michael Chandler had a really good round 5 against Charles Oliveira, even not including that blatant foul that there was, you know, with the back of the head strikes. He still did pretty good, you know. And that was Chandler sitting on his ass for 2 years, waiting for Conor McGregor to call him back, being left on red, and being shafted. I mean, he came back and he went all 5 and had a pretty good 5th round against Charles Oliveira. And Ilya Topuria, he's a baby in the sport. People forget, man. He is 28 years old, and he's already got the resume like of an all-time great. And when this fight was first made, I was a bit worried. You know, back in the day, he did nearly get knocked out when he moved up in weight to 155 and fought Jai Herbert. But I don't really think that's a good representation of his skill at 155. Now, I'm sure that Charles is looking at that and using that as a sort of like reference video, but I just don't think it's really going to apply in this particular matchup. And Charles doesn't really throw unorthodox strikes like that. Like, he's a BJJ guy with heavy pop in his hands, but when have you ever seen him throw like a head kick or something crazy, like some spinning shit that can make Ilya go, oh fuck, and really catch him off guard? He's got a sneaky jab, and he's got deceptive power and some serious length, but I think Ilya knows how to deal with that, man. He's fought taller, longer opponents. He's slumped Max Holloway, and I know Charles presents a different kind of threat in terms of power and finishing ability, but he's also way less durable. I know he can't eat as many like knocks to the chin as Max Holloway could, and Charles could fight patient and play the range game. But even then, man, I think there's a lot Ilya could do to fuck up his rhythm. And if you want to talk about jiu-jitsu of Charles Oliveira, he's not someone who actively chases takedowns or more often than not initiates any sort of grappling attempts. And Ilya is a master Georgian wrestler. I mean, he comes from this like new breed of Georgians who make it their sort of trade. I mean, look at Merab Dvalishvili and even guys like Roman Dolidze cut from the same cloth. They're very established grapplers, and even if they don't always use it offensively, they're defensively sound enough to the point where they can nullify jiu-jitsu. I mean, look at what Ilya did to Ryan Hall and Bryce Mitchell. And no, I'm not saying they're at the level of Charles Oliveira, not at all. But what I'm telling you is this. I don't think that Ilya Topuria is going to be intimidated by the jiu-jitsu threat of Charles Oliveira. And I just think that if Chandler, Gaethje, Poirier are all dropping you, even if it is a trick by Oliveira to sort of lure them into a false sense of security, that he can sort of stall and, implement his jiu-jitsu from guard, I just don't think Ilya has anything to worry about because he's not going to be afraid to go to the ground. And let's look at history, shall we? Featherweights have always had great success moving up. Like, let's look at the last 10 years. Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier. Max Holloway starts Justin Gaethje before moving, back down to fight Ilya. Even Volkanovski. That first fight with Islam Makhachev, he could have arguably won. Now, say what you will about the second fight. It was on short notice. I just think that featherweights have always kind of had the number of lightweights, if I'm being honest with you. And Holloway even had a win over Charles Oliveira a long time ago at featherweight. I know it's ancient history. But even Charles Oliveira is a former featherweight that moved up and had great success. I think the fight is going to be at a sort of fluctuating pace. I think Ilya is going to come forward. He might get caught with a few front kicks, maybe a few jabs, but I think he's going to level change, mix it up, sort of be the aggressor. And eventually, I think he's going to catch Oliveira kind of like circling out. And when he does catch Oliveira, I think we're going to see Chinny Charles. Only this time, I don't think he's going to bounce back after Ilya hits him because Topuria will go for the kill. And he's not going to get caught up in some stupid shit like a Justin Gaethje or Michael Chandler's going to. And hey, after all this, that Ilya Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett matchup looks a lot more plausible now, doesn't it? And the UFC just always seems to have a bit of a itch of getting what they want. They have a knack of certain things falling into place. So don't be surprised that after this fight, they book Ilya Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett because When they had their first interaction, that got so much hype. And you know that the UFC is going to want to sell the shit out of that fight. So these are my predictions for UFC 317. Let me know if you have anything different.